So what's up, man? Yeah, man, we back in business, guys. No, we right back, where we left off at, guys, with this Venezuela situation and Trump, man. Seems like it's some people that's against what Trump did, just like I told y'all yesterday. Chuck Schumer most definitely spoke out. Hakeem Jeffries then came and spoke out. Governor Newsom most definitely had some things to say. Putin in Russia says they want Maduro released immediately as Trump issues warnings to the new president, of Venezuela, basically telling her, you either gonna go along with what we got going, or it could be more strikes on Venezuela, man. What's up, y'all? Make sure y'all double tapping that screen. Most definitely get those likes up, man. You know what I'm saying? What's up? Most definitely double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, man. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. What's up, guys? Let me know who we got up in here, you know what I'm saying? Somebody type something so we know we got people that's actually in the building. What's up, y'all? I'm just waiting on some people to get up in here before we get the whole entire show started, man. So let me know if you're in the building. Shout out to everybody. This is Everything News. Most definitely got some updates for y'all. Just let me know when you're ready for the updates. What's up, guys? What's up, Jalen? What's good, man? Here in chat. Hope all is well, man. We is great over here, Make sure you're voting on the poll. Let me know if you think this whole thing is overall yes or no. You know what I'm saying? Is Trump taking over Venezuela for all? We're going to kick it off with the warnings that Trump gave out to the new Venezuela president, which is a female. I think her name is like Rodriguez or something like that. I most definitely got a video to bring us up to speed on exactly who this lady is, seeing that a lot of us don't know exactly who she is. What's up, well informed? We in the building. Please hit that like button, by double tapping the screen. I already miss Pooh Bear. Thank you for that $2. Most definitely appreciate it. As we do have a goal activated, guys. 5 super chats or super stickers. Doesn't matter the price. It can be 99 cents. Just most definitely help me reach that goal with super chats or super stickers, guys. That's 1 of 10. You know what I'm saying? Shout out. What's up, Bobby? What's up, well informed? Everything News. Good evening, Mahir, mods, and chat. As y'all can tell, I'm feeling a little bit better. My voice is most definitely improved. We most definitely in the building. Hey, Miss Pooh Bear, you know what I'm saying? Thank you for contributing to the channel. What's up, Mad Dog? How you doing today? What's up? Shout out to the whole inside sidewalk. Purple Groovy in the building. You already know what it is. All right, so let's just get this underway, guys. All right, so we got up first, we got Trump, basically where he issued a warning to the new Venezuelan president. Basically you're going to get down or lay down. If you go against what America has put in place in Venezuela, then you could suffer more strikes, guys. That's what he told them. Check this out.
People, he's tortured. They have a torture chamber in the middle of Caracas that they're closing up. But he's tortured people and
oh my goodness.
President Trump there this morning after the arrest over the weekend of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. The president is now warning the leaders of Colombia, Mexico, Cuba. And a new opinion piece highlights the geopolitical importance of this moment. Quote, by ousting Maduro, Trump has begun to liberate the country while striking at the heart of the axis between Russia, China, and Iran, and providing more democracy, oil, and security to our friends in the Western Hemisphere, end of quote. One of the president's next targets may be Colombian President Gustavo Petro. Trump
said he's trying to get to the Colombian president as well. Lord have mercy. Trump is on 10, guys. He's standing on business.
So involves the cocaine trade there. Petro responded that he would take up arms if the U.S. attacks his country and told the president.
He told Trump, come get me. I'm waiting. Lord have mercy. That's what the Colombian president replied to Trump. Let's go.
Directly, come and get me. I'm waiting. Now, remember, those are the last words of Nicolas Maduro in the back of that car right before they took him. Jackie Heinrich at the White House. Jackie.
Harris, the president says the U.S. is not at war with Venezuela, but he expects U.S. forces will remain in the region for a period of time. There's not a lot of urgency to hold new elections because first, the president wants to revitalize Venezuela's oil industry, which he estimates could happen in less than
The president,
18 months. This coming week, Energy Secretary Chris Wright is expected to meet with oil executives to hear out their concerns for securing their investments, given the country's history of political instability and also nationalizing natural resources. Speaking to members of Congress this morning at the newly rebranded Trump Kennedy Center, the president touted this operation as a massive success and a display of American might that adversaries should take note of.
But the United States proved once again that we have the most powerful, most lethal, most sophisticated, and most fearsome. It's a fearsome military on planet Earth, and it's not even close. I've been saying it for a long time. Nobody can take us.
Analysts say this administration made a calculated choice to work with the remnants of the Maduro regime, the interim president now, Delcy Rodriguez, rather than depose the government and the remains of the Maduro regime, which would likely require troops on the ground. President Trump said Cuba could likely fall next because it has been financially sustained by Venezuela, and he fired a warning shot at neighboring Colombia, whose president responded, as you mentioned, Harris, with a threat to take up arms. Now, Democrats have largely condemned Maduro's arrest as an act of war without congressional authorization, something the president and his allies have said they just can't understand.
We want everything. But they say that when you win the presidency, you lose the midterm. I wish you could explain to me what the hell's going on with the mind of the public, because we have the right policy. They don't. They have a horrible policy. They do stick together. They're violent. They're vicious. They're vicious people, and they stick together like glue.
The president emphasized that Republicans should do well in the midterms if they can get on message about touting their successes and stick together. Harris.
Jackie, thank you. The U.S. State Department has posted a powerful image of the president yesterday with this caption: "This is our hemisphere, and President Trump will not allow our security to be threatened." In focus now, Mike Pompeo, former Secretary of State and Fox News contributor. You're hearing some things like
Let's
the
double
Monroe
tap that
Doctrine,
screen,
a
guys.
lot
Get
of
the
things.
lights
Welcome
up.
to the program. As we come in, I want to get your thoughts on our hemisphere.
Yes, what happened, goodness, now just over 50 hours ago was really important for America and for our hemisphere. Frankly, as you pointed out in your opening, for the whole world, we demonstrated once again that President Trump, when American interests are at stake, right? Narco trafficking into our country, killing millions of Americans, all the terror that had flown through Venezuela from the Chinese, the Russians, and the Iranians. When American interests are at stake, President Trump will act in a way that doesn't deploy thousands of American troops for years.
Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen. That's how you get the likes up. Or you can click the three dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. Also, make sure you're voting on the poll. Is this all about oil? Yes or no? What's your opinion down there? Let me know.
That uses our military very effectively to protect and defend the things that matter most to Americans. It was not only a successful military operation, but I think will prove to have been an important operational and tactical operation on top of that.
And maybe, and I mentioned this just moments ago as an aside, you headed up the CIA, and maybe some tactical mistakes by Maduro riding around in a moving car just before he was taken. I mean, giving them a GPS dream. Anyway, Politico was reporting that U.S. officials have given Venezuela's new acting president a list of demands now.
Yeah.
Because she wants to stay in place. She's officially...
I told y'all either she gonna get down or lay down. That's what Trump said.
...the acting president after having been the vice president, her old boss Maduro. Here are the demands: cracking down on the drug flow, kicking out Iranian and Cuban and other networks that are hostile to the U.S., stopping oil sales to the U.S. adversaries, and to eventually facilitating a free election and stepping aside. Your take?
Harris, that's the exact right list. I know Delcy Rodriguez. I know Pedrino, the head of the military. I'd worked with them, talking to them through our intermediaries when I was the CIA director and Secretary of State. These are committed Chavistas. These are people who believed in Maduro and his model because they were beneficiaries of it. They had nice lives, beautiful homes, all of that. If we can apply enough coercive power against them and convince them to behave in a way that delivers against those objectives, this will have been an enormous strategic victory on top of the tactical operational success. But that's the task ahead. I just remind folks who are already screaming that this hasn't happened fast enough. This is 25 years of Maduro. It is not going to happen in 25 hours or even 25 days. We need to have a little bit of patience, and then we need to make sure we hold accountable the new leadership in Venezuela. And we will get to elections. There'll be a right moment for that. The reason the Venezuelan people are cheering, both inside the country and Venezuelans who have...
All right, so this is the vice president right here. I think her last name is Rodriguez. She took over after they captured Maduro. At first she was screaming, free him. Now she's cooperating with the U.S. I wonder why.
To abandon their countries because they know that this now has unlocked an enormous opportunity, and the hard work ahead has to be delivered on. And when it is, that joy can be real and sustained, and a prosperous Venezuela can lead to a much more secure America here in our own hemisphere.
Really quickly, the one thing that's not mentioned by name on that list are the drug cartels. And I don't know if Delcy Rodriguez can contain or sustain in conditions under that kind of pressure, because they are real.
Harris, this is the reason the president talks about Costa Rica, Mexico, right? These cartels are very powerful political players in each of those countries as well. You're precisely right to focus on that. She is going to have to figure out a way to take them down, keep herself alive at the same time. This is the challenge, but take them down. And this is what has to happen in each of these countries to protect not only their people and the horrible kleptocracies inside of their country, the narco-terrorists, but keep Americans safe as well from these drugs flowing into our country.
And my quick follow, as promised, are those countries willing to work together? Will you see President Sheinbaum in Mexico, and will we work with them to root out those cartels?
They have to. They have to not only for our sake, because I think we'll demand that of it, but they have to do it for their own sake and for the sake of their own people as well. This is not about America imposing its will. It's about America assisting them in getting back the opportunity for their people to live in peace and prosperity, not under the jackboot of the narco-terrorists inside of their own countries as well. I think President Sheinbaum understands that. I hope that she'll get there quickly.
Mike Pompeo, it is always great to have your expertise. Happy New Year. Good to see you.
All right. So that was a little bit on the warnings that Trump put out there for other countries as well as for Venezuela that they have to follow. Hey, man, double tap that screen. If you're on the mobile device, that's how you hit the like button. It helps out the channel. Double tap that screen if you're on the mobile device, or click the three dots in the right-hand corner. Hit that thumbs up. Here is a little bit more on what exactly Trump wants from the new Venezuelan president. Let's go.
Lawmakers aligned with the ruling party, including Maduro's son, gathered in Caracas to swear in a new National Assembly for a term that will last until 2031. You're looking at video of Venezuela's interim leader, Delcy Rodriguez. All of this coming in the background as the Venezuelan military did confirm that 24 people in uniform died during the U.S.'s operation over the weekend. President Trump, meanwhile, telling NBC News that he could launch a second military operation into Venezuela if its acting president, Rodriguez, stops cooperating.
So if she doesn't cooperate with Trump, he's saying he's going to send more strikes to Venezuela, guys. Let's double tap that screen. Get the likes up, guys. All you have to do is double tap your screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit the thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. This is everything I know about the warnings that Trump has sent to the new acting president of Venezuela.
Standing by is Connor Pfeiffer. He's the Senior Director of Government Relations at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Connor, Politico says U.S. officials have told Delcy Rodriguez that they want to see at least three things from her. Number one, cracking down on drug flows. Number two, kicking out Iranian, Cuban, and other operatives of countries or networks that are hostile to Washington. And three, stopping the sale of oil to U.S. adversaries. What's the likelihood that Venezuela does what the U.S. wants?
Austin, it's great to be with you. Those are three great demands from the Trump administration for Venezuela. They've long supported U.S. adversaries, created a safe haven for terrorist groups. Now, it's not going to be easy to get those demands taken in place by the new government, but if we can have some kind of transition through Delcy to a democratic government, then I think it's very possible to see those three demands realized.
Is it clear to us who the U.S. actually wants to be in power in Venezuela for now. Do they have their backing behind Rodriguez?
I wouldn't say that necessarily it's the U.S. backing Rodriguez, as it's the U.S. saying we need someone from the old regime in place right now in order to facilitate an orderly, stable transition to a democratic election where candidates like Maria Corina Machado could contest the election.
Come on, guys. I know y'all can do it. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots and hit the thumbs up. That's how you hit the like button, guys. It helps out the channel, or I wouldn't be asking y'all to hit the like button. Hit the like button, guys. Double tap that screen or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It helps out the channel, guys. Subscribe to the channel if you are new.
Fair basis and potentially be elected.
You know, Machado is, from what I read most recently, in an undisclosed location. That was according to Fox News today. It's unclear to me if she's in the country right now. As things stand today, how important are opposition factions in shaping the transition process?
I think they're super important because I don't think that the success of the strike that the president ordered over the weekend would have been possible without years of effort by the opposition to cultivate dissent in the military, dissent in the security services, and provide crucial intelligence to the United States about the Maduro regime and Maduro himself. So I think in the transition process, the opposition will remain extremely important.
You know, Rodriguez has named figures from the Maduro security apparatus to key posts. What does that tell you about the direction of governance in Venezuela?
Well, a lot of the officials who were in place under Maduro have remained in place under Rodriguez. Her brother is the head of the National Assembly, also former Vice President Hugo Chavez. You have Vladimir Padrino, the defense minister. You have Cabello, the head of the repression apparatus, interior minister. So they're still in place, and Rodriguez isn't necessarily going to have a firm hold on all of them, which is why U.S. pressure and leverage is going to remain important to make sure that we see the outcomes that the United States wants to see in the country.
I mean, if you could put a number on it, how much leverage does the U.S. have at this point? Do they have all
Basically,
of the
Trump done told the new acting president of
they have most of it.
Venezuela, get down
oil
and lay
revenue is
down.
the most important source of resources to keep the regime afloat. So as long as we strictly enforce the quarantine on sanctioned Venezuelan oil, then we have significant leverage over the regime. And then, of course, the president, as you mentioned in the lead up, has threatened additional military operations if Rodriguez or other members of the regime don't comply with U.S. asks. So I think that 1-2 combination is very potent for pushing the regime in the direction we want to see, but it's going to take a lot of hard work to get there.
We're looking at video of oil fields in Venezuela. What questions do we have about Venezuela's
Is this about
oil?
all, guys? Let me know.
In the weeks
Make sure you're voting on the poll. We got more votes than likes. Double tap that screen.
Correct?
There definitely is, because the regime has let their oil resources kind of deteriorate. Many of the oil fields haven't been pumped or maintained over years. They have oil leaks in different parts of the country. Their infrastructure is aging and hasn't been upgraded in 20 years. And so it's going to take, estimates say, maybe as much as $100 billion in the next 5 to 10 years in order to get production back to levels even a few years ago. So that's going to take a lot of resources. Obviously, the United States has superb expertise in energy production, and U.S. companies will be well positioned to help Venezuela rebuild through its oil infrastructure, but it's a mess. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, what are you reading as far as how much of a role the U.S. government will have and how much of a role perhaps U.S. oil companies might have in Venezuela's oil future?
I think they could have a very important role, in part because
All I'm hearing is
having those additional oil resources
guys.
from Venezuela could be what finances rebuilding the country. The president's talked a lot about this, as well as Secretary Rubio and others. The key is going to be creating the conditions where U.S. oil companies feel that they can operate safely and with certainty that their assets won't be expropriated down the road like they were in the past under Chavez and Maduro. And so that's why a democratic transition is so important, because you need to provide that certainty to oil companies to be able to operate in the country.
What are your biggest questions moving forward? There are so many different angles that we've been tracking this thing from since this past weekend. Connor, what are you tracking most closely in the days ahead?
Russia and China out
First
of the
is
West,
the
okay.
intra-regime dynamics. Is Rodriguez able to actually exercise power? What influence do Padrino and Cabello have over different aspects of the regime? Do we even see a threat down the road of a coup within the regime? And then on the U.S. side, What does it look like to enforce that oil quarantine? How much oil is being let out of Venezuela? And do we need to have additional military operations to address some of these problems? And then finally, I'd say it's the potential timeline down the road for elections. Secretary Rubio was very clear. You can't just wave a wand and have the opposition take power overnight. You have to have some kind of transition. But what does that transition look like? How long does it take? What kind of public agreements do you see from Rodriguez and her new government, though we don't recognize it, moving towards addressing some of these U.S. demands that you mentioned?
All right. Connor Pfeiffer is the Senior Director of Government Relations at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Austin.
Of course. All right. Let's get to a soundbite from the opposition. Maria Corina Machado was on Fox News. Let's play a little bit of what she said.
Let me be very clear. As soon as I learned that we had been awarded the Nobel Peace Prize, I dedicated to President Trump because I believed at that point that he deserved it. And a lot of people, most people said it was impossible to achieve what he has just done on Saturday, January 3rd. So if I believed he deserved it on October, imagine now. I think he has proven to the world what he means. I mean, January 3rd will go down in history as the day justice defeated a tyranny. It's a milestone, and it's not only huge for the Venezuelan people.
She's calling what Trump did like a victory, guys, so she's with it.
On our future, I think it's a huge step.
Says Trump deserves a Nobel Prize
and human dignity.
Maria Corina Machado earlier on, that was Monday night.
All right, so that was a little bit about the get down or lay down stance that America basically put on Venezuela, meaning Trump told the Venezuela acting president, hey man, you gonna do what we want you to do or we might strike again, right? A lot of us don't even know who the acting Venezuelan president is. I got a little bit more on her. Check this out. Man, y'all get the likes up. We need 40 more likes to be past 100. We most definitely need the likes to get up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. It helps out the channel, man. I'm giving y'all everything that I'm hearing and seeing regarding Venezuela, you know, and basically the warning that Trump put out. Putin basically responded to this, and guess what? He wants Maduro free. We'll get to that in a second. But here's a little bit of backstory on the new acting Venezuelan president, guys.
Supreme Court has ordered.
What's up, guys? Let's hit the like button. It ain't hard, man. You can do it even if your fingers are broke. If you're in the hospital, have your nurse come in and double tap that screen for you, or click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. Let's get the likes all the way up. We got over 1,000 people and only got 94 likes. Let's get the likes up. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the three dots, hit the thumbs up, guys. Make sure you're subscribing to the channel if you're new.
And frequently warn the country about the threat of foreign intervention. Crucially, as energy minister, she also has been a steady hand in funneling Venezuela's dwindling energy revenues to the regime. Seen here last month with state workers, she says,
Hey, Tifa.
we have something to tell Mr. Trump. Venezuela doesn't owe the U.S. anything. And yet,
say they don't owe
Rodriguez
us
has
nothing.
for many years been sanctioned by Canada, the EU, and the United States. CNN attempted to question her in 2016 after a CNN investigation uncovered a scheme to illegally sell Venezuelan passports out of the country's embassy in Iraq. Rodriguez, then the foreign minister, refused to comment to CNN on every occasion. In keeping with her political pedigree, Rodriguez has a less than subtle message for the Trump administration as she demanded Maduro's release. Her involvement in any future...
Now, she demanded his release before Trump put down this ultimatum. Either you're going to go with what we say, or face more strikes from the U.S. She changed her tune after that.
Transition in Venezuela will be challenging. Paula Newton, CNN.
Joining me now from Oxfordshire is Vanessa Neumann, a Venezuelan-American diplomat, business owner, author, and political theorist. Vanessa, great to see you again. It's been a while since you and I have spoken. I know it's been a moment of celebration for many
Thank you,
Venezuelans
Tifus.
in and outside of the country, and also a moment of deep anxiety from the Venezuelans I've been speaking to inside the country. Just give us a sense of what you're feeling first and what the mood is from what you gather inside the country.
Indeed, and it's such a pleasure to be with you again. I've missed you. So, the mood in Venezuela is one of concern right now, and confusion more than anything. So there are several things. One, everybody is delighted by most people are delighted by the photograph of Maduro. You know,
So she's basically saying a lot of people in Venezuela are happy that he has been captured and basically brought to justice in the U.S. A lot of people aren't mad about his capture.
handcuffed and with the blindfolds and the earmuffs on the Iwo Jima, heading back to the United States. It reminded me of the capture of Abimael Guzman, who later the Shining Path was put in a cage. It made him human. It took away the terror and all this fear that Venezuelans have had with these 18,000 political prisoners and extrajudicial killings and tortures. He seemed like a superhuman who could never be captured. And now we know he is human. He can be captured. People within the Maduro enclave can be captured, and we can one day have democracy again. So that's hope. That's one sentiment. On the other sentiment, there is great concern about
Now she's basically saying that Venezuela wants democracy. You know, this guy was a dictator. You know, he basically assumed power on his own. Wasn't no vote, wasn't anything like that. He strong-armed his way into ruling the country, guys.
fact that Delcy Rodriguez, who is not a nice woman, but is very, very intelligent. She's multilingual, fluent in English and French, and the chief negotiator. I have seen it firsthand. I haven't been fed this by the U.S. government or the Venezuelan opposition. I have been present during phone calls where people were negotiating with her to give Maduro money or to keep Maduro in power. So I am aware of that. And she will give a little dance to the Trump team who think that she will be their puppet, but she's nobody's puppet. However, that's one thing. I think they will get tired of being danced around by her, Rubio and Hegseth. And on the other hand, she faces a huge challenge because she's not in the military, by Diosdado Cabello and Padrino Lopez, who's the two military, one's the head of the military and the other one is a military commander who's head of the party. They're very, very bad guys. And they will want to command whatever's left of military morale. They will want to command whatever's left of military morale to sideline her. So she may well be stabbed in the back by her own party.
So many good points that you made.
And we're nowhere. Then we just have Diosdado Cabello and Padrino Lopez.
She said that the new acting president could basically be stabbed in the back by her own people. Wow.
Who were really not much better than Maduro.
Yeah, look, so many good points you made. Let me start, first of all, we'll talk about Diosdado, the Interior and Defense Minister, in just a moment. But let me get your thoughts, first off, on Delcy Rodriguez. She's now the president, VP, obviously, but you've seen the Supreme Court, she's now been handed over the reins, of course, of the country. We've had President Trump saying that she will do what we ask of her, almost painting a picture, Vanessa, of her being slightly more pragmatic. What is your sense? Because what I heard from you yesterday is, we will never be a colony. We want Maduro back. Is this just lip service, or do you think that Chavismo is not dead?
I think Chavismo is not dead. I think there are two different things, right? So there are Chavismo, there are a few hardcore ideologues who've always been there, always will be there, right? Who really believe in Chavismo. And don't forget, this is a country like Cuba. I know you know this extremely well, where there's a whole lot of propaganda.
Shout out to everybody that's hitting that like button. Make sure y'all double tapping that screen, guys. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click the three dots, hit that thumbs up, and most definitely subscribe to the channel if you're new, as we find out more about Delcy Rodriguez, the new acting president of Venezuela, guys.
People within Venezuela, unless you have a smartphone, really don't have a lot of access to reality. They get fed these lines. Second of all, I think they have to keep up this line for their own survival.
On the other hand, there is the aspect of their own survival, right? They are all facing drug charges. Delcy Rodriguez has done, I think was it the New York Times? Has done a PR job. Yeah, where she said, Delcy the moderate. And everybody in Venezuela was like, Delcy's not a moderate. She has been, remember what I said at the beginning, she's a negotiator and a PR person, and she's been handling her own PR clearly for her to assume this position for months and positions herself as a moderate. She can't be too much of a moderate. It's the typical thing we've seen, you and I have seen in transitions in other countries. If she tries to be a moderate and go on bended knee to the Trump team, her own team will stab her in the back. And then we'll have to have a second wave of attacks on Venezuela, or the Trump team will stage a second wave, as they discussed last night. She's not going to go on bended knee. Venezuela, they will not make Venezuela.
So basically, they saying even though she's preaching a different tune right now, don't get it twisted. She's not anybody's coward in so many words that she'll basically fight back, because if she doesn't, she'll be stabbed in the back by her own people. Wow.
Colony, and I think that this is going to be some very complicated days. Venezuelans cannot go out into the street to celebrate because A, they're confused, they don't know what comes next, and B, anybody who says, yay, they got Maduro, will be immediately captured and tortured.
Wow.
Vanessa, so good to
If you go out and say, hey, man, they got Maduro, you will be immediately captured and tortured. Lord, have mercy, Jesus. All right. So everybody's not happy about him being taken into U.S. custody, right? Okay, now check this out, y'all. We got more. We got Vladimir Putin basically came out and asked for the immediate release of Maduro, guys. Yeah, Russia is backing Maduro, and they want him free. Check this out.
Release from U.S. custody. The longtime ally of Venezuela, the U.S. capture of Nicolas Maduro and his wife, and is calling for their release from U.S. custody. The longtime ally of Venezuela is now calling for the conflict to be resolved through diplomacy. Let's discuss this with Nina Khrushcheva. She's a professor of international affairs at the New School and is the great-granddaughter of former Soviet leader Nikita Khrushchev. And we see the 2026 behind you. Happy New Year to you, Nina. We wish it was under more sobering or happier circumstances. But let's talk about this long-standing relationship between Russia and Venezuela. How might you expect the Putin regime to react to what the Trump administration is doing?
Good morning. Well, they already react, and they've been condemning, as actually many others. We heard it from China. We even heard it some words from Europe as well. But it's in some way, it's a very subdued reaction, because as horrible as it is what happened to losing this ally, because Russia has invested, it's not exactly clear, we don't have exact numbers, but up to 20 billion, 17 billion into the, you just had a piece on Venezuelan oil. A lot of it was Russian bailing.
Hey guys, let's take time to get the likes up. We got more votes than likes. We got 740 votes at this time and only got 187 likes. Let's double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. It helps out the channel. Continue to get those likes up. If you're in the building and haven't hit that like button, hit it now. Double tap the screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those three dots and hit the thumbs up, guys. That way I don't have to keep on stopping the videos to ask y'all to hit the like button. I appreciate everybody that hits the like button. Thank you.
Now, the Rosneft was very big into sort of supporting the failing oil business over there. So Russia is almost ready to lose the money. So there's a questions to Putin is that why are we the Russians, why the Russians are investing into the regimes that really were very shaky to start with. That is one part of it. But they're ready. They're condemning, but they're not really. And Trump said correctly that Russians are not going to have a big stink about it. On a positive note, although that has not been heard, but we understand that if we analyze Putin's actions, he actually feels very validated, because one of the reasons he went to Ukraine in 2022 is because he was afraid for that is a security issue for Russia. There is a problem for Russia that he may be taken out because Joe Biden didn't like him. So now he says, look, if America does it to Maduro, they could have done it to me. Also, the might gives the right. So Trump had the might, he went in, I have the might, I go against Ukraine.
And much of this has led to questions about how much President Trump discussed with Putin about Venezuela when they spoke on Monday. But during a press conference, President Trump addressed whether or not he spoke to Mr. Putin about the Venezuela operation. Let's just play exactly what he had to say.
You had a phone call with him on Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't. We never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
Oh, man.
What do you make of that answer, and how do you think it might impact the U.S.'s efforts to get peace between Russia and Ukraine?
Well, I actually kind of agree with, I don't know whether they spoke about Venezuela, but I would imagine that they have many more things to talk about. First of all, there is Ukraine, then there is China, then there is Iran, and maybe later, somewhere they can get to Venezuela. It's not really the top of their agenda. I'm sure if they did, Putin might have said, well, maybe don't take him out, maybe just let him get out peacefully, quietly, and whatnot. But he did. He essentially insulted Putin in those remarks when he said that there's a very primitive war. Look how it has to be done. We went in, we got out, because the idea was when Putin went in 2022, he would get Kyiv in 3 days, and he didn't. And so now Maduro was taken out in 30 minutes. So that's kind of an embarrassing thing for Putin. But I think another validation that he feels he can have is that he's not going to trust any Westerner. So if Trump can do it to Maduro, if Trump doesn't like him, he decides he can do it to him too. So now the Russians say, thank God we have nuclear weapons, and whatever our negotiations tactics would be, we're going to stand.
Yeah, y'all talking about we ain't worried about Putin. We better be worried about Putin and China. They got nuclear weapons just like we do.
Our ground and let them try to get to us.
Really interesting analysis there, Nina Khrushcheva. Always great to get your insight, especially on this first Monday of the new year.
All right, so that was a little bit about how Putin and Russia is feeling about this whole situation. They want Maduro released, guys. That's what they're saying. Not only is Trump getting blowback from other countries, he's also getting blowback from here at home. Speaking of the Democrats, which Chuck Schumer most definitely came out and slammed Trump for not putting Congress on notice when he was doing what he was doing. Here's Chuck Schumer's speech about Venezuela, guys. Make sure you're double tapping that screen if you have not. Double tap that screen if you're on the mobile device, and click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, man. Subscribe to the channel if you are new.
And thank you for Senators Warner and Duckworth for being here. Now, yesterday, Mark and I and other members sat through more than a 2.5-hour classified briefing with the administration. And after all that time, we got no real answers. They don't know where they're headed. They think they can do step 1, take out Maduro, and they have no idea what steps 2 through 10 are going to be, which gives all of us a great deal of worry. I asked 4 simple questions. How many American troops are we going to send to Venezuela? They don't know. How long will we be running Venezuela? Don't know. Unknown. How much is this going to cost? We tried to pin them down. No answer. What country is next? Unknown. But I was very unsatisfied when I asked them, are they considering going into other countries? It was really troubling. And last night, when asked, Trump told Americans he's in charge of Venezuela. When asked who's in charge of Venezuela, Trump said, me. One man, no idea, no plan. Whatever pops into his head, it seems, from that briefing. So let me ask a simple question. How does spending potentially years and potentially billions of taxpayer dollars in Venezuela put America first? How does this help families here at home pay the rent, pay the mortgage, pay for groceries, pay their energy bill, pay for their health care? Because right now, millions of Americans are losing coverage. Millions more are paying thousands, even tens of thousands more for health insurance. And what are Trump and Republicans doing? Nothing. He's all focused on Venezuela and Latin America. America First means lowering healthcare costs here at home, instead of using taxpayer dollars to build up the oil fields in Venezuela. It means helping American farmers, not bailing out Argentinian farmers. It means bringing manufacturing back to our shores, not handing over critical chips to China. It means helping families afford rent, mortgages, and energy bills. Instead, Trump is focused, it seems, on helping his big oil buddies, and he's focused on personal vanity projects like renaming the Kennedy Center and choosing which marble armrest to install. Instead of figuring out and helping us reduce healthcare costs, he's figuring out which marble armrest to install. The result? Life's getting a lot harder for American families. Republicans aren't just ignoring it, they're making it a lot worse. Senator Warner.
Well, thank you, Chuck. Let me also say one of the things that came out of the briefing yesterday was how extraordinary our military has been to execute this mission under fire without the loss of a single American life. It's really extraordinary. And as the chairman of Joint Chiefs made clear, every component of the military was used. Because what this was a military action. And it is not the notion that the administration has put forward that somehow this is simply a legal action serving a warrant. It's absurd. It doesn't pass the smell test. And the ironic thing is here,
the Democrats are upset, guys. Make sure you guys are double tapping that screen, man. We should be well past 300 likes by now. Double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click the 3 dots, hit the thumbs up, guys. It's not hard. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new.
They have used the argument on attacking the so-called drug boats as military action, as opposed to legal enforcement, while this supposedly was simply a legal enforcement. It does not pass the smell test. I commend our military. But echoing what Senator Schumer said, military execution without a plan for the day after leads to devastating consequences. Secondarily, the president on Saturday said he's not only going to run Venezuela, but this is not going to cost the American taxpayer a dime. Haven't we heard that promise before in Iraq, where Iraq oil was going to pay for the whole cost of the invasion? Now he's saying Venezuelan
What's
oil
up, Nene?
Is going to pay for all of this operation. The challenge is this: we have an economic chokehold on Venezuela at this point by the blockade. To restore, though, Venezuela's oil exporting ability to about 1 million barrels a day, to get back up to where it was a decade plus ago, 4 million barrels a day.
Well, we just heard something else about oil, guys, which leads me back to the poll that's in the chat, guys. Do y'all think that this is all over oil? They're saying drugs, but a lot of people are saying oil. What do you think? Make sure you vote on the poll that's in the chat.
Literally take 2 to 4 years of rebuilding and some level of security for companies that go in. We couldn't get an answer as well as how much is the cost of having 20% of our fleet, the largest armada assembled in the Caribbean since the 20th century? How much per day is it costing our fleet to be stationed off of Venezuela, maintaining that economic chokehold? And by the fact that at the end of the day, the Venezuelans are going to pay for all of this, or Venezuelan oil, does that mean that 20% of the fleet has to stay there a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years? These are the kind of questions that need to be answered. And I'll also echo what Senator Schumer said. A lot of our Virginians over the holidays lost their health insurance. This does nothing to make health insurance more affordable, groceries more affordable, drive down the cost of rent. That's what the American people want the president and the Congress to focus on. With that, my friend, Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Warner. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Warner. Thank you, Senator.
Where in the world did she just come from, my guys? Where did she come from? Did she come from under the podium? What is going on? Where did she just come from? Did she just come from under the podium? I'm just saying. Look at this.
Senator Duckworth.
Thank you, Senator Warner. Senator Duckworth.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Warner. Thank you, Senator Schumer. Thank you, Senator Warner. Thank you, Senator.
Oh man, no, I'm not gonna even ask what she was doing up under there, but she most definitely just came from under the podium or something and just out of nowhere. What in the world is going on?
Thank you, Senator Warner. Thank you, Senator Schumer. I just want to say how in awe I am of the 160th Air Crew. Those boys and gals are badass, and all of those rotary wing air crew, I bow down to them. The Delta Force folks, what they managed to do. I've flown over urban areas in a combat situation, and what they did was remarkable. You know, here's the thing though. I've flown in a war that was fought over oil. I flew to out of Fort Knox to Kuwait and into Iraq 21 years ago to serve in Operation Iraqi Freedom. And I went not because I supported the war. Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, he was a dictator, and he deserved to be removed from power. However, the problem we have is that it is not the American people's responsibility to go around the world removing dictators from power and then running foreign countries when we have problems here at home.
Okay, bet. Okay, I didn't know that. I'm sorry for making that joke. She says, they tell me that's Tammy Duckworth. She lost both legs in military. She has artificial legs and sits until called to the podium. Okay, my bad. I'm sorry about that. Wrong kind of joke at the wrong time. I'm sorry, my bad.
Dictator. I would never dispute that. But the problem we have is the fact that yet again, we have now entered into a war where there is no known off-ramp. If Donald Trump wants to run a country, he should think about running the United States of America. I was home over the break and I spoke to a gentleman whose health insurance policy for him and his wife are going to go up from $3,000 to $12,000. He cannot afford those premiums. His wife is sick. He's giving up his health insurance in order to be able to afford hers because they're on one income because she cannot work. Look, I don't know, maybe Trump dodged the draft so many times that he isn't capable of understanding the lessons that the rest of us have learned from past conflicts that are based on lies. We fought a war in Iraq for oil. We sent troops there, myself included, looking for weapons of mass destruction that did not exist. It was a war that was built on bluster and bravado from ignorance and arrogance of those in leadership. And yet here we are again in Venezuela. The reality is Trump's actions this past weekend and his reckless...
She believes it's all about oil. She said that she went to, Iraq and basically fought over oil. And then here we are in Venezuela, basically back on oil again. That's what she said.
Escalation in the days since seems all too familiar to those of us who have served in uniform. He has risked American lives to interfere in another nation's politics without legal basis, and for no good reason that he can articulate other than for the greed of oil. Trump campaigned on bringing costs down. He promised he'd get our nation out of wars, not into them. He campaigned on America first. Well, you know what? That's bullshit, because that's not how he's governing. When I go home to Illinois, folks are talking about healthcare costs, grocery costs. Tell me, please tell me how he's making America great again when those costs for everyday Americans are skyrocketing because of his policies. When farmers tell me, you know what, I'm 8th generation, there won't be a 9th generation, we're about to lose our family farm because of his tariffs. Tell me how he's making America great again. So let me just say this. Instead of helping folks afford basic needs, Trump is more focused on regime change and building his Marie Antoinette ballroom, things that do not help everyday families we are supposed to be serving. It is a true testament to our troops' abilities that no Americans died during this operation. But we are already seeing reports that several Americans were injured. And yet at the same time, he's devastating the VA. He had a goal of firing 83,000 employees from the VA, the same department that is supposed to be taking care of veterans who serve in these wars. Trump has never understood that the real cost of war isn't measured in dollars and cents, but in the blood and sacrifices of our service members and their families. But our troops know all too well just how costly it can be when and their families. But our troops know all too well just how costly it can be when a president relies on lies to engage in war over oil without a clearly defined end state. We know better. The American people know better. Listen, we've always known that Donald Trump is a coward and a liar. But this weekend, he proved that when he missed the Vietnam War, he also missed the lessons Americans learned there. The lessons that my buddies and I learned in Iraq decades later. So I'm here today to remind him of the true cost of war. I'm here to say that if he cares about putting America first, then maybe he should focus on running America and not Venezuela. Thank you.
Whoa.
I always try to call on a woman first. Go ahead in the red. Well, you don't have to answer. Right there. It's the men are always woo, so I like to.
On healthcare, President Trump in his speech to House Republicans today that said they should take healthcare as an issue from Democrats and own it. But he also did say they should show some flexibility up high. Do you think President Trump is open to a bipartisan deal, or do you think he's urging them to go down partisan legislation?
From all their actions, they're totally partisan. None of them say extend the credits. Thune and Johnson are against extending them for a day, let alone a week, a month, a year, which is what's going to bring the health care cost down as much as. The Republican caucuses seem wedded to extending Hyde. That's again when you talk to their leadership. And so I think the best thing they can do is have the House pass Hakeem Jeffries' bill, send it over here, let Thune put it on the floor, and let's pass it. Go ahead,
Given what's happened here in Venezuela and the actions that Marco Rubio has taken, do you regret your vote to confirm him?
I am deeply, deeply disappointed in Marco Rubio, even before Venezuela, and even more so now. Yes.
Democrats used the appropriations process to restrict the Trump administration from deploying a major contingent of troops to Venezuela or to prevent the Trump administration from going after Cuba or another country.
Okay. Our first focus has to be on what's coming up to Thursday, which is the War Powers Act, which Tim Kaine, Adam Schiff, Rand Paul, and myself have introduced. If we can pass that, and it only needs 2 more votes, it got 2 Republican votes last time, all future action that they do in Venezuela could stop. That's our number one focus. That's the best thing to do right now. Yes.
How do you see the security implications of the Maduro operation for our allies in the Pacific? There's especially increasing concern in Taiwan that China will become.
Well, Mark Warner has said this well. I'll paraphrase it and let him elaborate. What now prevents? There's always been norms in foreign policy that served the United States well for hundreds of years, and certainly in the post-World War II era. What now prevents Xi from a Chinese court indicting a Taiwan leader and then scooping them up and arresting them? What prevents Putin from doing that to Ukrainians? This is very dangerous. Mark?
Let me just add, international order isn't perfect, but it puts some boundaries. If any large country can say to a smaller country next door, we don't like your leader, and he or she broke our law, and then go in and extract him, where does that lead? It leads to chaos, which has been the main drive of this Trump administration. The other thing that we heard on Saturday was we heard kind of a Trumpian approach about spheres of influence, or the Don Roe doctrine. For 75 years, under Democrats and Republican administrations alike, we thought, well, you know what? It's in our best interest to treat with respect the countries in Central America and South America, not as kind of us being the imperial leader of the whole hemisphere. This kind of 21st century imperialism means that, does China get all of East Asia now? Does Russia get all of the former Soviet Union? Does it get Germany or Czechoslovakia as well, or the Czech Republic as well, within their so-called sphere of influence? This is why this kind of chaotic, by the seat of the pants foreign policy, not only does it turn potentially partners in Central and South America against us, but it scares the hell out of all of our allies in terms of our commitment.
Leader Schumer. Thank you. On government funding here, when we talk about appropriations, though, why not then go to that? I understand what you're saying about the Kaine resolution. I understand. Is there concern that you might have a government shutdown if you guys try to cut off funding for Venezuela?
We're focused on the Kaine resolution. That's the best way to go, and that's what we're focused on.
Why not use the power of the purse?
Please get your response to the president's recent rhetoric and threats toward Colombia, Iraq, Italy, and Cuba, and how Congress and the states are giving too much war power to the executive branch of the union.
Well, look, ask our Republican colleagues that. We've tried several war power resolutions. We've gotten a few people to join them, but not enough. And it's needed now more than ever with a reckless president. A president who was just reckless when it comes to foreign policy. It's sort of fly by the seat of your pants. In that briefing, you know, I said, oh, it's hope for the best, but they don't have any plans. You can't do things that way. And so War Powers Act is extremely, extremely important. Yeah, go ahead.
On the issue of these other nation states, you know, Maduro lost in 24. I wish the previous administration had done more to push him out at that point. But when you start talking about Colombia and Mexico, they're nations that had democratic elections. And we're going to somehow say we're going to superimpose our position on democratically elected states. What message does that send to the world? And the whole notion, I think the first few months, people kind of joked about Greenland. But the idea that he's potentially posing a serious military threat, nothing would lead to the absolute destruction of NATO more than American aggressive action against a long-term ally like Denmark.
I asked for some assurances that they were not planning operations in other countries, and I named a few of the ones you mentioned, including Colombia and Cuba, and I was very, very disappointed in their answer. Thank you, everybody.
All right, so we heard from Chuck Schumer, and basically some of the Democrats, but that wasn't it, guys. We also had Hakeem Jeffries basically came out and spoke about this as well. Check this out.
Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York. Leader Jeffries, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. We obviously have to start with the capture and indictment of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. You have called him a, quote, criminal and authoritarian dictator who has oppressed the people of Venezuela for years. Is Venezuela better off without Nicolas Maduro in power?
Well, he's a bad guy, of course, and he's going to stand trial in an American court of law at this particular point in time. It remains to be seen whether the people of Venezuela are going to be better off. Donald Trump claims that he's going to run Venezuela. He's done a terrible job running the United States of America. Life hasn't gotten better for the American people over the last year. Life has gotten worse. He promised to lower the high cost of living. Costs haven't gone down. They've gone up. The healthcare system is broken. Donald Trump refuses to do anything about it to address the Republican healthcare crisis. So the notion that he's going to run Venezuela and make life better for the Venezuelan people, of course, is belied by the facts as to what he's done as president here in the United States of America.
Well, you just heard my conversation with Secretary Rubio. I asked him about the administration's decision not to inform Congress ahead of this operation until President Maduro had been captured. Secretary Rubio saying this was not the kind of mission where they could have afforded to notify Congress. There were concerns about leaks. He made that point. President Trump made that point. Was the administration justified in this case in not briefing Congress?
Well, there's been no evidence that the administration has presented to justify the actions that were taken in terms of there being an imminent threat to the health, the safety, the well-being, the national security of the American people. This was not simply a counter-narcotics operation. It was an act of war. It involved, of course, the Delta Force, and we're thankful for the precision by which they executed.
Hakeem calls it an act of war, guys. What do y'all think about it?
Operation, and thankful for the fact that no American lives were lost. But this was a military action involving Delta Force, involving the Army, apparently involving thousands of troops, involving at least 150 military aircraft, perhaps involving dozens of ships off the coast of Venezuela and South America. So, of course, this was a military action. And pursuant to the Constitution, only Congress has the power to declare war, to authorize acts that take place in this regard. And we've got to make sure when we return to Washington, D.C., that legislative action is taken to ensure that no further military steps occur absent explicit congressional approval.
All right, well, let's talk about when you return to Washington, D.C. One of the big topics at the forefront will of Congress will be, of course, the fight over these Obamacare subsidies. They expired just days ago. The House set to vote on a 3-year extension of those subsidies. But as you know, Senate Majority Leader John Thune has said it's a non-starter in the Senate. Why are you putting forward a bill that has absolutely no chance of passing the Senate?
Well, let's take it one step at a time. We've got to make sure that a straightforward extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits passes out of the House upon our return next week so we can protect the health care of tens of millions of Americans who are about to experience dramatically increased health insurance premiums, copays, and deductibles. In some instances, health insurance costs will increase by $1,000 or $2,000 per month. That's completely and totally unacceptable. And Republicans have a responsibility to partner with us as Democrats to stop it, to protect the health care of everyday Americans, working class Americans, and middle class Americans. Now, when we successfully pass this bill out of the House of Representatives, we know that there's a bipartisan majority in the Senate. Every single Senate Democrat and at least 4 Senate Republicans who support a straightforward extension of the Affordable Care Act tax credits. The votes exist to pass it in the Senate, absent procedural hurdles that John...
Hey guys, let's continue to hit that like button. If you haven't hit the like button, double tap that screen. All you have to do is double tap the screen on your mobile device or click the 3 dots and hit that thumbs up, guys. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the channel if you're new.
Thune is erecting because Republicans apparently have no interest in protecting the health care of everyday Americans. They'd rather protect the interests of big oil and their billionaire donors, which is why they enacted massive tax breaks as part of their one big ugly bill.
Well, let me ask you, because as you know, we are 26 days away from another potential government shutdown on the heels of the longest shutdown in U.S. history. Would you support?
Well, they said we might be on the way to another government shutdown. Not again.
Another government shutdown over this battle over healthcare subsidies?
But what we've said from the very beginning, first of all, we need to resolve this issue within the next week or so, protect the health care of the American people, and then continue to fix our broken healthcare system and address the Republican healthcare crisis that's devastating everyday Americans, including as a result of the fact that they enacted the largest cut to Medicaid in American history. Now, we've also said, as it relates to the appropriations process, that we will sit down anytime, any place with anyone in order to find a bipartisan path forward to enact a spending agreement that actually makes life better for the American people. As Democrats, we're committed to driving down the high cost of living that exists in this country. Donald Trump promised on day one of his presidency that Republicans would lower costs. Costs haven't gone down. Costs have gone up. Housing costs out of control. Grocery costs out of control. Utility bills out of control. Healthcare costs out of control. We're committed to actually addressing the needs of the American people. That's one of the problems with this action in Venezuela. How does it actually improve the quality of life of everyday Americans? How is it in America's national security interest? Why doesn't Donald Trump and their administration focus on dealing with the affordability crisis? That is not a hoax. It's very real, and something meaningful needs to be done about it. That's the Democratic commitment.
Leader Jeffries, let me ask you, because Tuesday marks the 5th anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. House Democrats are planning to hold a hearing criticizing President Trump's decision to pardon all of the rioters. And I wonder, is there anything tangible that you anticipate coming from this hearing, or is this hearing for show?
It's a substantive hearing. It'll be about the concerns that have been raised by people all across this country as to the fact that on his first day in office, Donald Trump pardoned hundreds of violent felons who brutally attacked the Capitol and beat police officers, more than 140 who were seriously injured. Psychological and physical damage that was done that is permanent in nature. And it was all part of Donald Trump's effort to halt the peaceful transfer of power, which is one of the bedrocks of American democracy. We're in our 250th year of representative government. Our democracy is not perfect, but it's a glorious thing, and it fundamentally has to be protected and preserved. So at minimum, on this 5th anniversary of that horrific attack on the U.S. Capitol, we're going to address issues of concern related to ensuring we continue to have free and fair elections. We've got to get rid of this compliant Republican Congress who function like a reckless rubber stamp for Donald Trump's extreme agenda, as opposed to actually trying to enact policies that make life better for the American people. That's at the essence of our democracy. And so on Tuesday, it'll be an important hearing. We'll hear from Americans from across the ideological spectrum about the horrors of January 6th and why we've got to make sure that something like that never happens again.
All right, very busy time in this new year on Capitol Hill. We'll be tracking all of it.
All right, so that was words from Hakeem Jeffries, guys. He kind of got off topic talking about the healthcare situation, but I let it play anywhere. But he basically called the capturing of Maduro an act of war, guys. What do y'all think about that? Now, back to the topic of Venezuela once again with the situation. If y'all think that it's about oil, you know, or is it about drugs, guys? Because all we've been hearing is all.
Senior White House reporter Von Hilliard, our senior national security reporter David Rode, Politico senior writer and former federal prosecutor Ankush Kadori, and former NATO Supreme Allied Commander General Wesley Clark. Von, the president says he's in charge of Venezuela. Stephen Miller's backing him up. So who has what role and what exactly is the plan?
Right. And actually, I want to be clear here, Anna, that the president of the United States continues to speak at the Kennedy Center. He is addressing House GOP members as we speak here. And he, for just a few minutes, talked about the mission into Venezuela to arrest Maduro. But he has lacked specifics in terms of what the intentions of the executive branch of the U.S. government is. Of course, members of Congress have called for some oversight, greater background briefings on to the exact intent of this Trump White House here. But for the president's part, he did go on to talk briefly about the mission, suggesting that there were no Americans killed. Stephen Miller last night was pressed on whether any civilians were killed. He did not answer that question. There were, in fact, according to the Venezuelan government, according to sources to MS Now, there were at least 70 individuals killed in this U.S. mission.
Whoa, we struck them over 70 fatalities, guys, over there in Venezuela. Wow.
Here, including 32 Cuban nationals who were there defending the grounds in which Maduro was staying. I want to let you listen to the president talk about that moment.
You know, people are saying it goes down with one of the most incredible. It was so complex. 152 airplanes, many. Talk about boots on the ground. We had a lot of boots on the ground. But it was amazing. And think of it, nobody was killed. And on the other side, a lot of people were killed.
There were a lot of people killed on the other side. And again, I mentioned the fact that the president only dedicated a few minutes here in front of these House GOP members because he went on several other tangents over the course of this last hour. He referenced Melania Trump, urging him to not dance at events because it doesn't look presidential. He said, according to his own telling, that Melania suggested that FDR didn't dance. He said that she was probably unaware of the history of FDR. He then also went on to declare, quote, "I am the king." That is the first time I believe we've ever heard the president of the United States describe himself as
Trump said he is the king, guys. Wow. You know, they've been having these no king protests. Well, Trump just went up there and said, "Hey, I'm the king."
the king. That came as he was detailing the fact that multiple foreign countries have committed to buying fleets of Boeing aircrafts. Again, this is a speech that is very much all over the place by the current commander-in-chief, somebody who is still facing a lot of questions about exactly what the intent of his White House is and how they intend to run Venezuela and the extent to which the interim president there will be cooperating with U.S. officials here as this effective naval quarantine takes place around Venezuela. Anna.
Von Hilliard, we'll let you keep listening to the president. Thank you.
Well, if it's a lie, they said it, my guy. If it's a lie, you know, MS Now said that he said he was the king.
Ankush, some top lawmakers from various committees were briefed yesterday, but notably excluded from the briefing were members of the Judiciary Committee. Senators Grassley and Durbin both fumed after being left out. Does their exclusion undermine the administration's own insistence that Maduro's capture was a law enforcement operation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, that argument was already, I thought, a pretty incredible one for this administration to make. I mean, bear in mind, you know, they had spent months targeting these boats that they claimed were proxies for the Venezuelan government. Trump announced that he was that the airspace above Venezuela was closed. There was a blockade. All of these are acts of war. They then, since then, are saying that they've quarantined the oil. And then just to put all this in some context, nearly a year ago, when the administration started deporting people under the Alien Enemies Act, sending them to El Salvador, it was the administration's position that we were already at war with Venezuela. Now, the administration is all over the place on this issue. They're just saying whatever they have to say to get past the current interview and move to the next one. This is not a coherent argument. These are all acts of war. You cannot go in, remove the head of the state of another one, even if you think they were not democratically legitimate, abscond with them, and then effectively say you're running the country. I mean, the notion that there's a legal framework around here is absurd. There's not.
And David, the more the president talks, the more it seems like this is really all about the oil. Here's some of what he's been saying.
Let's go.
The oil business in Venezuela, oil companies, the biggest anywhere in the world, the oil infrastructure. Venezuela unilaterally seized and stole American oil. Oil industry, massive oil, Venezuelan oil. Rebuild the oil infrastructure, the oil companies. We're going to get the oil flowing the way it should be. They stole
all and more
oil is very dangerous. We're in the oil business. We'll be selling oil. We'll be selling large amounts of oil.
Drill, baby, drill.
Companies in the world. The oil is just flowing at a very low level. We're going to have the big oil companies go in. The oil is allowed to freely come out. What we want to do is fix up the oil, fix up the country.
So a lot of oil
What's
talk,
up with
which
it,
means
Keith?
money, right? David, is the U.S. involvement here to fix up the oil infrastructure in Venezuela coming at the expense of U.S. taxpayers?
It means money for oil companies. That $100 billion figure that you mentioned is accurate at the beginning of the broadcast, and that's going to be funded by U.S. taxpayers in terms of the initial efforts to reconstruct this industry. And it could take 10 to 20 years to get this heavy crude out of the ground in Venezuela. It's heavy crude. It needs a lot of refining, and it's difficult to extract from the ground. And the other cost here is these military actions. A colleague of ours at MS Now was told by a former senior military official that night this raid itself costs anywhere from $500 million to $1 billion. And to continue to have this flotilla of ships, continue to have all these aircraft over Venezuela or near Venezuela, that costs taxpayers as well. So this is not free or cheap or easy. And again, you can't just claim to run a country and then pretend it doesn't cost anything and you don't have any responsibility.
Right, General Clark, the White House insisted it's not a military takeover, but here's how Secretary Hegseth framed the situation.
Hegseth.
Deterrence is back. We're not playing the whole catch and release game anymore. These are foreign terrorist organizations, the Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere, and we will sink every drug boat headed in our direction. And we saw 3 nights ago in downtown Caracas.
Y'all know that Hegseth came under fire for the striking of that second boat. You know, that second strike that unalived the passengers of the boat that were clinging to the boat for dear life. He's been under scrutiny himself. But yeah, he's taking his stands, guys.
In Venezuela, as nearly 200 of our greatest Americans went downtown in Caracas. Seems those Russian air defenses didn't quite work so well, did they?
General, is this takeover likely to deter other U.S. adversaries?
Well, I certainly think that China and Russia are looking at this and they don't like it, nor does Iran. They never like it when the U.S. shows its capabilities, and none of these countries have capabilities that can equal ours in this kind of a mission. So I think there is a certain measure of deterrence in this. I think when the U.S. uses force, Russia backs up, China backs up, and Iran is fearful right now of what's going on inside. So I think there's a strong message sent from this military action. Remember, Maduro was bringing in and has brought in Russian, Chinese, and Iranian influence into the hemisphere. So there's I know we're talking about oil here, but there's a strong national security argument for doing exactly what was done. And we've also got to recognize that there's a rationale for keeping the current administration under President Rodriguez, Delcy Rodriguez, in place for a while, because the lesson from Iraq was don't go in and throw everybody in government out. Somebody's got to pick up the garbage, make the water work, provide electricity, and patrol the streets. So we may not agree with everything they do, but there's got to be a period of transition. Now that's where the challenges will come in, and there'll be many challenges. But thus far, from a national security perspective, I'm glad we got rid of Maduro. We've got to get the Russian, Chinese, and Iranian influence out. Rodriguez has to do that at our direction. And then let's take it step by step from there.
Well, that's what the administration essentially is saying. And what you just laid out there is one perspective. It's also the angle that we're hearing the administration push, which is that we have to show strength and power through this kind of might, that removing Maduro is a win-win for everybody because he was such a bad guy, and that when the U.S. is able to, get in and rebuild the oil infrastructure, that's going to be a real win for the American people to have access to that oil. It's going to bring down oil prices. I mean, that is the picture that they're trying to paint. But this isn't what the president promised his supporters on the campaign trail, right? When he talked about kind of not having U.S. intervention in foreign military type of excursions. And David, this also could send a message that is not what we just heard from General Clark to some of the adversaries like Russia and China, who have their sights set on countries in their own neighborhoods. We've heard plenty of other analysts on our air discuss how this could have the effect of emboldening them and empowering them to take similar action in Ukraine, if you're Russia, or in Taiwan, if you're China. I'm curious to ask you, does securing interests with this unapologetic use of military force set, a new precedent of some sort, as top Trump aide Stephen Miller said last night?
Look, I agree that removing Maduro was a positive step and that he was a dictator who oppressed the people of Venezuela. But this is going to be more complicated as it goes forward. And I spoke recently with Senator Mark Warner. He's the ranking Democrat on that House Intelligence Committee and really a sort of moderate and tough on national security. He's very concerned that this will do what you described, which is it's essentially there's an American zone of influence here. The U.S. does what it wants. Russia could be emboldened to do more of what it wants in Ukraine, and then China could essentially declare, most of Asia its sphere of influence. And it really, you heard this yesterday at the UN, and it's the UN and international law. The UN was established after 2 world wars, and the idea was to have a set of international laws where countries could resolve differences. And this is just one country going into another country and removing its leader. Again, he was an illegitimate leader. The key thing is just what kind of Venezuela emerges. Are there elections? The key for the U.S. is just strong allies on the ground. Venezuelans know best how to run and create a democratic Venezuela, not the U.S. And we've just seen that over and over again. So it should be, removing bad people, but helping then strong local people, strong Venezuelans who believe in democracy run their country.
All right. So that was a little bit more about the all, guys, which led me to ask y'all the question, is this all about all? Do you think it is? Make sure you're taking time to double tap that screen if you're on a mobile device, or click those 3 dots, hit that thumbs up, guys. That's another way to hit the like. It helps out the channel, man. All right, so we've heard all these people talking about, what they think. As far as the people in the States, we heard from Russia. Let's hear from a person from Venezuela about how she feels about this whole situation. Let's go.
It was about 2014 when my son was 1 year old. I couldn't stay more because I was in a point where if I didn't have diapers and we couldn't buy them, or anything, and I had to hey, I have milk, do you have diapers? So we started trading things to try to survive, and I just didn't want to put my son through all of that, so I thought that the best thing was trying to leave.
Let's make sure you're still in frame. Perfect. And I know you said that you had some family that still live in Venezuela.
I have a lot of family that is still live in Venezuela. I have uncles and aunts and cousins. My brother, my younger brother, he still lives in Venezuela.
Now, obviously, I know everybody in the world, and I'm sure your family in particular, have been watching the news of what happened over the weekend in Venezuela. And I know there's been a lot of conversations about, especially with people in this country that maybe aren't a fan of what we did, what the military did in Venezuela, removing Maduro. But from what I understand, there's a lot of Venezuelans that are ecstatic with the way that this.
Okay, so we need to set a record and make it clear in here.
Of course.
And this is the most important thing. 100% of the Americans that are against what happened in Venezuela are not coming from experience, okay?
Oh man, so she's saying if you're in America and you're against what happened in Venezuela, you don't live there. You don't know exactly what's going on, which leads me to believe that some of the people in Venezuela are happy that this guy's been captured and brought to America to justice.
Whatever situation you have ever lived in the United States will never ever compare to the famine, persecution, and destruction that we have endured to 26 years. You are upset that a military operation took place because of oil, supposedly. That's what is being said. But nobody said anything while people starving, eating out of the trash.
Let's go.
I had friends that took whatever somebody threw on the trash and tried to eat the leftovers. I had family that died because we tried to take medications from the country that we were at and send it to Venezuela, and it wasn't.
Now, this is a person that's from Venezuela, guys. Yeah, she says conditions over there were horrible. She had friends eating out the trash already. What's up, Keith? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, had people eating out the trash. It's people over there that are really struggling.
Out in.
And they're happy he's gone.
No, don't worry.
Flag came on down. It was all right.
Yeah, so we were talking about, how Americans have seen this. And we see it as salvation, honestly. That's the way we see it. We see it as the opportunity to hug our family again. Because, I'm sorry. We fought way too hard, and we were either killed, run over by their tanks, taken to prison and disappeared. People that I studied with, they just disappeared. They just took them away. They vanished them. If you were put in notice, we know who you are. We know that you are protesting against us. We are going to come and take you. I worked for the government, for a bank in Venezuela, and they ran a list, and we had to, in any government, wherever the president was going to be, we needed to be there in slotted times because we needed to make it look like it was full. So, an American that hasn't lived the terror of socialism will never understand what is going on right now. I don't care if you have a master's degree in whatever. Unless you live it in your own skin, you won't ever understand it. And I think it's terribly disrespectful for anybody to tell Venezuela how we should react to that. I think it's terribly disrespectful to the people that have died, saying that Maduro shouldn't be where he is. In 2011, and this is out in the news, like you can confirm what I'm about to tell you. In 2011, there was an overpass that is called Yaguno in Venezuela, in Caracas. And the people that were walking over that underpass, I was there with my mom. We were in the protest. We started to get shot at from the top, and the order was that anybody that was wearing the flag as a shirt or anything, we were to be shot. And one of the people that was shooting down at protesters, at Venezuelans, was Maduro. He was one of the people shooting down, and that is proven. And there are photos of him attacking people. So you cannot tell me that he shouldn't be.
Wow, so when Trump says this guy was a monster and other people say he was a monster, according to what she's saying about him shooting down on people that's wearing the flag as a shirt or protesting, basically unaliving people. Wow, sounds like a monster to me. Somebody down there said she's lying. I don't know, man.
There. Now, he's there. There are so many other things that he has done that he's not paying for. But America is making him accountable for the things that are threatening directly Americans, like drug charges and everything. It's just the opportunity that we have before other crimes, he can at least pay for some, and we can have hope in freedom. When I saw the news, it was 5 a.m. I woke up and I read it and I couldn't believe it. And I was like, no, this is impossible. Let me read again. I just jumped and I started screaming and crying, call my mom, call my brother. I mean, we are happy. This is what we prayed for. This is what we dreamed for. We are not free yet. We need America to stay in Venezuela until all of the other bad guys are out. But without America, this wouldn't be fathomable. Like, it's just insane.
That's crazy. So she says that, hey man, it's people that are in Venezuela that are celebrating basically, this whole situation, man. We heard a lot from our side and from Russia, but we didn't get to hear from a person that's actually from there. So according to her, she's saying, hey man, it's not what y'all think it is. It's really terrible over there, and this guy's really a bad person, and that some people in Venezuela are happy that this guy has been captured by the U.S., man. I just wanted y'all to hear a little bit of what she had to say, man. This is on KFDM News on YouTube, guys, if y'all want to catch the full interview of everything that she had to say. I see some people down there saying, this is straight propaganda. I hear you, but it's always best to present both sides. All right. So another thing that I ran across was Governor Newsom, guys. He most definitely had a lot to say regarding Trump, guys. Hey, man, I was like, wow. It says hurricane force bullish. Newsom goes off on Trump. Let's see what Governor Newsom had to say about Trump, guys. Let's go.
Be with you.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Thanks.
Happy New Year.
Let's start with the news that broke over the holiday about the National Guard. You and I together met with National Guard troops right after you had deployed them to the fires in January, a year ago. And then last summer, the president, amidst these ICE raids, federalized the Guard troops. You told me at the time what he was doing was illegal and immoral. And he just finally returned all these Guard troops to your control after the courts continued to rule against him. But even after that, he's now saying, this is a quote, it's only a question of time before he does it again, perhaps in a much different and stronger form.
Yeah, which I assume he's implying the Insurrection Act, which would give him carte blanche to be able to do it. I mean, look, he's just winding up. We got 3 more years of this. He's not going to back down easily. We were a test case. We said that in June when this happened. He nationalized, or rather federalized, 4,000 National Guard, sent out 700 active duty Marines. By the way, many of those National Guard men and women that he federalized were the folks that were down there on the fires, the same folks.
The Rattlesnake Team.
Rattlesnake Team, finally coming back home, coming back into their communities. These were doctors and nurses, firefighters, police officers that were taken off the beat for political performance. But it was a test case to test it in the courts to see how far he could string this along. He lost. He was wrong from day one. We said it. The judges consistently made that point, and now he's got to reevaluate.
Do you feel like you can assure Californians that you will prevent him from ever deploying troops to the streets of California again?
No one could do that. Because by definition, he's going to test the boundaries and the limits. And that's why I suggest the next phase of this is the Insurrection Act. It's the only thing that would give him license. He's got the Supreme Court now that is adjudicated, at least partially. You've got lower courts. Justice Breyer here consistently has called this out, and he has no basis. And so on that basis of the past being prologue, there's no question in my mind that he's going to assert some other cockamamie decision. And the fact is, it takes so long. It gives him months and months as the process slowly moves through to test out further series and try to stretch the mind of imagination. And that's what it's always about for Trump. Once the mind is stretched from his perspective, it never goes back to its original form. He's constantly testing the boundaries, and he unquestionably will be doing again, including, Jacob, what he's doing with these quick response teams that he's committed to this month in all 50 states that will give him the ability to move at a moment's notice to every major urban center in America.
Do you believe we're here because of the one-year anniversary of the fires? His deployment of the Guard affected in any way your ability to respond for the people of California, the people of Los Angeles in the wake of the fires?
I mean, I don't know about the wake of the fires, but these are our folks that I put down at the border. I'm going back 6+ years. He pulled folks from our rattlesnake teams that were doing vegetation and forest management, preparing for wildfire season in terms of prevention and mitigation strategies. These are folks we have joint task forces to address the issues of fentanyl and are working regionally with our highway patrol to address the issues.
Newsom is most definitely not scared to call out Trump, man. He's suing Trump in every direction, you know. He most definitely been calling out Trump for the longest. What do y'all think about this?
Of crime and violence. So he impacted all of those public safety efforts. For what? For a show. They sat there playing video games in many cases. They were just total boredom, looking for things to do. They were never substantively employed. 2-3 months ago, what were they doing in LA? You didn't see them. They're sitting there in the Armory doing nothing, costing you, taxpayers. You want to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse, Mr. President. $100+ million wasted because the fraud you perpetuated and the abuse of your authority on the American people. So it's a disgrace, and the courts bear witness to that, and the American people bear witness to that as well.
We're here in this Cal Fire hangar because we were observing the one-year anniversary of what ultimately became the costliest wildfire event in American history. 2 Los Angeles neighborhoods virtually, entirely wiped off the map. People who read Firestorm are going to know a lot about what you went through personally, the experiences that you had, some of the behind the scenes of what it was like, both on the national political level and with the local leaders. But take me back to that first day, January 7th. What did you see? What did you feel?
Well, put it in context, and you did it in the book in pretty vivid terms. I mean, 40,000 acres were burned. It wasn't just these 2 major fires that get so much attention, appropriately so because of the devastation and the 31 lives that were lost, but 12 fires over the period of January 7th to January 22nd. We were dealing with unprecedented conditions. Remember, in the middle of winter, a year ago, and yes, we have winters in California. In Southern California, it bone dry for 8+ months. Middle of January, we're dealing with an unprecedented scale of these storms. 16,000 people were deployed. 2,000 pieces of equipment were deployed. 29 agencies, the most robust response to wildfires in world history. The largest concentration of resources in LA County, the most populous county in America, deployed to address these unprecedented conditions. So I just want to shape a consciousness for folks to understand. It wasn't just the Palisade fire, it wasn't just the Eaton fire and Altadena that were devastating. It was fires throughout the region that challenged and stretched.
You've seen a lot of fires. When you were governor-elect, you went to your first fire. I think it was one of the first times you were on location with President Trump.
Yeah.
What did it feel like this time? Was it different?
No. So what was back to your question, it was apocalyptic, I think, as you describe in this. It was like a bomb going off. No other way to describe it. And I was there just a few hours after the fire, and was there physically in the midst of the firefighting as I went up into the foothills and experienced firsthand what our first responders were dealing with, only to see the aircraft doing fire suppression, only to be taken down hours later. The heroism of those in real time to a life.
They look like matchsticks to me.
They literally are matchsticks. We were sitting there. You can watch a home. It's completely fine. And 2 minutes later, you turn around and an ember hits its spot fire and the thing's immediately up. So up in flames. And so the devastation at scale in real time, happening concurrently in multiple parts of the region, not just in one location, was something I've never experienced. And this is someone, to your point, that has been used to a state that is the most blessed state in America and the most cursed state, California, used to disasters, including the Paradise disaster, which is one of the most deadly in world history.
Let's talk about the recovery. We're at an active airport, as people watching us can hear. I'll give it a second. Let's talk about the recovery. You mentioned some of the numbers. 3 times the size of Manhattan burned, 16,000 structures destroyed, 31 people dead, maybe hundreds more if you look at sort of the secondary effects of the wildfires, excess deaths, costliest wildfire event in American history. Where are we at in the recovery effort?
We've made tremendous progress, the fastest debris removal in American history, at least modern American history, in 6 months, working with the Army Corps of Engineers, working with FEMA. They did an exceptional job. And I will say this, to be fair, Donald Trump did not get in the way of that. But that process began under President Biden. I was president at the time. We established the contracts. We established the major disaster declaration. I can't even conceive, had this happened under the Trump administration, we would still be debating which one of his contractors he would send out to do the debris removal, which one was connected to the larger construct of the administration. So we were able to move forward very effectively in those first 6 months. We put out a detailed plan, a master plan for removal, a vision for the future of the region. We did that at the 6-month mark, and we continue to wait for a simple response, just the dignity of a response from Donald Trump himself to a request for federal disaster aid that we made in February of last year. It's almost been an entire year. And that request is currently $33.9 billion. We continue to visit with leaders of both parties on Capitol Hill that are consistently supportive, but they're simply waiting for that request to come from the president.
Gary said,
let me ask you about that, because you went to Washington last month.
They
You were
don't like
seeking, as you
Newsom,
say,
boy.
billions
He
of
calling
dollars
Trump
in
out.
additional disaster aid for wildfire victims. You said that the administration, the Trump administration, refused to meet with you, and that this is a quote by you: President Trump's promise to take care of survivors was clearly a lie. What is he lying about?
Well, it's in your book. I mean, you saw at the tarmac when I met with the president, open hand, not a closed fist. Continued to have conversations with him, including the night that he visited L.A. that evening. Left a voice message. We talked the next morning. I went and visited him. I think I was the first Democratic governor to go to the Oval Office. Spent over 90
Shout out
minutes
to OG
with the president directly, consistently reaching out in goodwill and good faith to hold him to his commitment that he publicly made to have the backs of people, including members of his own administration, friends of his that were impacted by these fires. Not a word. And, you know, I was back there a few weeks ago, and what was rather extraordinary, and then again,
somebody said Gavin for president.
Nothing is any longer, but it should be outrageous. It should outrage people listening of all political stripes, even big Trump supporters. Refused to even have a member, even an intern from FEMA, meet with me or any member of my administration on the disaster request. They were simply unavailable at any time for even a moment to just engage. He's dismantling FEMA. He's dismantling any notion of objectivity about climate science, research, grants, and supports for cities, counties, states. It's an extraordinary moment, and we're living it in real time, and we're battling back against it.
Republicans in Congress say that they're not giving you these funds because they want to look into mismanagement of funds that were previously sent to California. President Trump said something.
Let's make sure we taking time to double tap that screen, guys. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click the 3 dots, hit that thumbs up. It most definitely helps out the channel. Hey, man, if you new over here and you're enjoying what you're seeing as far as the overall, man, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you have not.
Different. He said at the height of the ICE raids, he would potentially withhold those funds because of your disagreements over policy related to immigration. Is this retribution, do you think?
Yeah, it always has been. I mean, going back to, I was lieutenant governor at the time. He sent out tweets attacking then Governor Brown, saying no funding until you rake their forest. He didn't use the rake frame, but he used the vegetation and forest management frame at the time. And so he's constantly conditioning things, trying to hold communities hostage on the basis of their political identity. I mean, it's the most un-American thing, and people just know that. But in this case, he made pretty bold commitments. He's made, to his credit, a lot of progress in terms of his advocacy and support for the Olympics in 2028, his advocacy and support for a World Cup coming later this year, both coming into the region of Los Angeles. You'd think he'd back that up with support to make sure that we're prepared at scale and that we're putting on the best face on behalf of the American people. And so I'm hoping he backs into this with a deeper consciousness. This is not just about California, deep blue California. It's about the United States of America. And it's also about principles. It's about character. It's about decency. It's about morality. It's about human beings that have been torn asunder. What I saw were communities, not statistics. What you just described appropriately and understandably was in the aggregate. No one lives in the aggregate. Everybody's experience is unique, devastating. The small business owner is out there generationally, also loses their home, but loses their community church, sense of place, confidence, direction, struggling now, fighting the insurance companies, wanting to get back on track. But you got an insurance challenge, you've got interest rate environment, you've got costs of goods that have gone up because of mass immigration or migration issues because of these raids. You've got issues related to tariffs and the cost of supplies, all because of Donald Trump. And all we want is a partner, not a sparring partner, but a working partner.
One of the things that I wrote about in the book is that you told me off camera after I interviewed you for Meet the Press, you were worried about the incoming administration, the Trump administration. He was president-elect at the time, his immigration policy's potential impact on the wildfire recovery. And then you see these wide scale for months and months and months. I think last month alone, 470 people were taken, according to LA Taco, just in December. What's the impact of ICE and CBP being in LA on the recovery from the fires?
It's impacted the entire construction industry across the United States. A disproportionate, California, Texas, a few other states, up to 35, some cases estimated 41% of the workforce are immigrants.
So is it
you've got direct labor shortages. You've got direct impacts from these tariffs. Look, we could just talk about the tariff impacts and the retaliatory nature of what's happening with our relationship to Canada and some of the supplies that come from there. The direct impacts as it relates to those that have rebuilt. And I want to remind folks, 2,500 permits have been approved within the first year. You see the sounds and noise of construction, a lot to be optimistic in terms of where we are. And by the way, compared to other disasters, put it in perspective, 14,000 homes were destroyed in the Camp Fire in Paradise. There were just 385 permits at this time. We have over 24, close to 2,500 permits today in Altadena in Los Angeles County. We're not happy with the rate of that, but we are pleased to see the progress. And again, it's meaningful, but it's impacted. The challenges, the headwinds of immigration policy and tariff policy are hurting the recovery and making it more costly.
Let's talk about when President Trump came to visit in January. It was his first trip as president right after the fires. And I report about how you practically had to beg to be invited to see him when he came to Los Angeles. And ultimately, you show up on the tarmac at Los Angeles International Airport, and you had to make a split-second decision about whether or not to get on Marine One with the president. You decided not to. Why?
Well, we had a good conversation, and you're right. It was the pageantry of Trump, just doing what he does. But I'm so used to that. It was rather calming and predictable. It was good to be out there. It was the right thing to do. He was very gracious when we both met, and in many ways we were sort of beginning to reestablish a relationship we had his first term when I worked with him very closely. People may have forgotten this, not even know this, worked with him extraordinarily closely during COVID. Again, when it comes to emergency response, open hand, not a closed fist. And so we were hoping to rekindle that. And we had this very collaborative conversation where he turns around, we start walking towards the helicopter, and he says, "Hey, why don't you just come on board?" I said, "Wait, I'm visiting folks out there. We're literally doing sandbagging. We're doing work down in Altadena. We've got some mud flow concerns that are happening. I got my entire staff." I said, "Mr. President, I'm good. Enjoy your roundtable. Call me later tonight," which he did. I'm just as well that I missed that because the roundtable became a political opportunity where people were positioning, and frankly, I didn't think it was necessarily a constructive conversation, that roundtable ultimately, and I thought our one-on-one conversation was much more constructive.
When was
all right, we're gonna stop Newsom right there because we're a little pressed for time, guys. We're a little pressed for time, but there was a little bit of Newsom basically on Trump, guys. Him and Trump been having a back and forth, ever since the wildfires and the deployment of the National Guard into California, into which Newsom has been very vocal when it comes to Trump, guys. All right, another situation that I seen unfolding right in front of my eyes is with Senator Mark Kelly and Pete Hegseth. Hegseth basically wants to stop Kelly's money. Check this out. Hold on, right here. Let's go here.
Secretary Pete Hegseth says that the Pentagon will cut Senator Mark Kelly's retirement pay. Kelly and 6 Democratic lawmakers took part in a video reminding U.S. service members of their duty to refuse illegal orders. The Democrats were accused by both Hegseth and President Trump of, quote, seditious behavior. Kelly is a retired Navy captain who served during Operation Desert Storm. Hegseth wants to cut his pay and reduce his retirement rank. Kelly says that he plans to fight the action.
Donald Trump, he deferred the draft 5 times because he had bone spurs. 4 generations of service to this country earns me the right to speak. 5 deferments earns nothing.
The Pentagon is seeking to punish Senator Mark Kelly for speaking out against Trump. The Navy veteran was one of 6 Democratic lawmakers, who took part in this video reminding U.S. troops about their duty to defy illegal orders. Now, Pete Hegseth called Kelly's statement seditious, and he issued a letter of censure. He said that the department is going to cut Kelly's retirement pay. In response, Kelly called Hegseth the most unqualified defense secretary in history, and he added that he will not be intimidated and plans to fight back. Congressman, you were also part of this video as well. What do you make of this move to punish Mark Kelly?
Let's call this what this is. This is Donald Trump and his cronies in the administration weaponizing the
a lot of people on Trump
to
top,
punish
man.
Political opponents, to silence dissent and opposition. That's what's happening. There's no merit to the allegations. They are simply trying to seek vengeance on me, Mark Kelly, and others for speaking up. But they picked on the wrong people, right? We are people that have taken an oath to this country. We are not going to back down ever. We're going to double down, triple down if we have to, because we are dedicated to the Constitution and to the rule of law. What we did and what we reminded our service members of is the simple obligation that they also have an oath to follow the rule of law.
Absolutely, Ms. Cooper.
Also reminded
Lars
service
everywhere.
members of in the first Trump administration, before he backed Trump, when he was worried that Trump would issue illegal orders. I mean, should he be worried that the next president might court-martial him, censure him, dock his retirement pay?
Well, look, I'll say I was reading Jonathan Turley. He's a legal scholar, and he says the Brits are the ones who gave us this idea of sedition, and we definitely use that too loosely. Not everything is sedition, not everything is a punishable crime, and this video, I believe, was protected speech, and it does not constitute such a high crime. But, and I want to thank you for your service, Congressman. My dad was a captain in Vietnam, and he taught me a thing or two about chain of command. And when I saw this video, I was shocked because it felt reckless. It felt like it was undermining the chain of command of good order and discipline among troops and service members. So I want to ask you honestly, why the video? Why make a video when most service members already are aware that they can object to illegal orders if they find them to be that way? So was it a PR stunt? Because it certainly came across that way. It poked all the right buttons with the Trump administration. And I'm not saying that what they're doing against Mark Kelly is justified, but I also think it was pure resistance theater. And I don't think that was a very productive use of your time as 6 very honorable former service members.
Well, let me answer your question with a story. Before I deployed to Iraq with my platoon of paratroopers, I knew that these young men, 18, 19, 20 years old, were about to be thrust into a very foreign, very volatile, very scary situation. So I gathered them around in our main room in the barracks, and I showed them the film Platoon. And in that movie, there is a scene where that platoon, under extreme duress and fear, ends up committing a massacre. It actually was an illustration of the My Lai massacre, which really happened in real life. And then I led a discussion with my paratroopers, and I asked them, how did this happen? How did they lose sight of their humanity? How did they lose sight of who they were as people? And they become the aggressors. So it was that discussion that led the groundwork, that laid the groundwork so that when we were in combat, when we were in the fog of war, and they had to make split-second decisions about what was right and wrong and whether to shoot or not, they had already received the training. If you wait until the last minute, you have failed them, right? We started a conversation about what the law and Constitution requires of our soldiers, and that's what every commander should do. So instead of undermining the chain of command, it actually reinforces the chain of command,
in what the obligation of our soldiers are morally, ethically, and legally. And I will never back down from that obligation because we have a commander-in-chief who has threatened to use the military to shoot protesters, threatened to send the military to polling stations, which is a violation of U.S. law, which, committed a second strike in the Caribbean, which I think was a violation of law. All of these things give me grave concern right now, and that is why Mark Kelly, I, and others are reminding our service members and standing by them that they have an obligation to follow the law.
Quick response, Carol.
And I hear you on that, but I will note that one of the senators in the video, when asked what specific instances of illegal military orders were you alluding to, because it wasn't specific, it was very ambiguous, which I also thought was irresponsible. If you're going to make these accusations that Trump, as commander-in-chief, is giving illegal orders, maybe name one, two?
I literally just answered that. That's what I just described. That we weren't talking about orders in the moment. But do you want
just a general sort of vibes?
That's
Hey,
the
by
training.
the way, you have this right, even though they are told they have that right.
That's what I literally just illustrated in the story.
Yeah, well, no, it's a great story.
Is it possible?
If you're just now getting here right now, we're talking about Pete Hegseth basically looking to cut Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly's retirement, guys, over his video that he participated in which telling U.S. troops they can deny illegal orders, guys. If you haven't double tapped that screen, make sure you double tap that screen. That's how you hit the like button if you're on the mobile device, or you can click those three dots, hit the thumbs up, guys. That's another way to like the video, as well as subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're most definitely on the road to 59K. We need all this, what is it, 59 or 57? Hold on, let me look. Oh, we on the road to 59K. We need all the subscribers we can get. So subscribe, guys.
For me and others to shoot a video when we think an order is being given that somebody has 5 seconds to execute that might be lawful or unlawful. Is that possible? No, it's not, right?
Thank you, Green Line.
Starting a discussion about what the obligation of service members are, right? So when they're in the moment and they have to make that split-second decision, they've already thought about it.
We heard today from Defense Secretary Hegseth that he's moving to formally punish your colleague, Senator and retired Navy combat pilot Mark Kelly, for appearing in a video which the lawmakers told troops that they didn't have to follow illegal orders. Hegseth has accused the lawmakers of sedition. He says he intends to demote Kelly from the rank of captain, reduce his retirement pay. Senator Kelly responded saying, in part, I risk my life for this country and to defend our Constitution, including the First Amendment rights of every American to speak out. I never expected that the President of the United States and the Secretary of Defense would attack me for doing exactly that. What's your reaction?
Well, for those of us that are really worried that we could lose our democracy in 2026, this is what we're talking about. This is obviously an exceptional abuse of executive power, punishing a United States senator, demoting his rank in the military as a retired warfighter simply because he said something that the president disagrees with. But of course, this is happening throughout the federal government. Over and over again, the president is using, whether it be the United States military or the Department of Justice, to punish anybody that opposes him. James Comey, Letitia James, the news media, who have been banned from the Pentagon. We have never, ever in the history of this country seen a president so willing to use his official powers to try to censor speech, to try to control what people say, to punish people who disagree with him. Now, it's true. It hasn't silenced and won't silence Mark Kelly. Journalists like you and many others all across the country are still telling the truth. But this is how democracies die, and it's why we have to continue to raise alarm bells all over the country when it continues to happen.
All right. So we heard a little bit about the situation with them looking to basically cut his pay. Not only did the other senators basically speak out on it right there, but Senator Mark Kelly most definitely spoke out on it on his own too. Here you go.
Donald Trump didn't like it, said we should be hanged, executed. When I guess that didn't work out, for me personally, prosecuted under the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So then yesterday, I received this letter that censures me and threatens to reduce me in rank after 25 years of the United States Navy, flying 39 combat missions, 4 times in space, decades in service, threatening to reduce my rank, so demote me. because of something I said, something that was clearly lawful. Also something, by the way, that Secretary Hegseth has said on multiple occasions back in 2016. So this is certainly the height of hypocrisy. I think it's also important to point out that in this letter, where you might have thought it was just about the video, we find out it's not just about the video that we made. This is also about other things I've said. Like, they think I don't have the right to criticize them when they fire admirals and generals. It is specifically in here on the first page. And to say that they have surrounded themselves with a bunch of yes men, I think that's a fact, especially in the White House. So this is over an extended period of time that they want to make it perfectly clear that I am not allowed to say what I think. And that's dangerous. Every other retired service member, like me, or every veteran, every active duty service member, maybe every U.S. citizen is going to say, hey, if they can criticize and stop, a United States senator from doing his job in speaking out, what does that mean for the rest of us? So this is really concerning. We're going to, do what we can and, fight this with, every tool that we have. But this is what Secretary Hegseth did in sending this letter is an erosion of every U.S. citizen's First Amendment rights.
But aren't you likely to lose this fight with the Secretary?
Well, first of all, this is a letter he sent, goes in my record. We'll respond to that. I don't think I'm going to lose a, fight with him, but that's not the point. The point is that they're trying to shut me up, and that's not going to happen. So whether I win or lose this, that's not the consequential thing. The consequential thing is, do Americans still, speak out against this government? I view that not only as a right, but a responsibility, especially in my job on the Armed Services Committee. I have oversight responsibility for the Department of Defense. I sit on the Intelligence Committee. So whether I lose or win this fight, we're gonna fight this with everything we have, because I'm certainly in the right here. I said something that I believed, that was lawful, that was true. This White House's response is I should be executed.
There are 5 other lawmakers who were on that video with you, but you're the only one who has been targeted like this so far from Secretary Hegseth. Do you think that the same treatment is coming for your fellow lawmakers? Why do you think you've been singled out?
Well,
so they're looking to drop his rank and cut his retirement, guys. Wow.
It's one of the details of this is that I'm retired, so it's easier for them to target me because I'm a retired member of the military. So
what are the tools at your disposal? You mentioned you're going to use all of them. What are they?
well, I mean, there are things that I can do. I'm discussing that with my attorneys, and we'll have a response at the appropriate time.
Are you getting support from your colleagues in the Senate and other veterans? Are you getting any support?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm hearing from veterans, all the time. Just this morning, I was up in New York doing a CBS morning show, and as I walked in the door, one of the security guys just said, hey, I was talking to my son about this just yesterday, and he wanted to pass on, if I ever saw you, to thank you. Because this means a lot to him in his position. The guy was an intel officer in the Army, in the Signal Corps. And I hear that repeatedly. I also hear it from some of my Senate colleagues, sometimes on the other side of the aisle, sometimes publicly, sometimes not publicly. Folks are, unfortunately, they're afraid to speak out against this president in any way because they see there are consequences for doing that. There shouldn't be consequences. I think it's important that folks like myself and other folks in this video just stand up to this guy.
I know you think that it's about kind of quieting you down, but do you also think it's to a certain degree undercutting the message that you were trying to share in that video? That
I think the message is loud and clear.
But is the Secretary trying to scare people that might?
Of course
stand
he
up?
is.
Yeah.
Of course he is. He's trying to silence everybody. But this is something you're taught in the military pretty early in your career. You're not depending on what kind of job you're in and who your boss is, you may or may not be reminded of it much, but it's a pretty simple message that we don't follow unlawful orders. And when orders and the law are in conflict, you follow the law. It's on a plaque at West Point. Yeah, I think they're concerned about, I mean, he mentioned some stuff in here that actually in this letter that are not even true. You could go take a close look at it, and we'll have a response to it. But yeah, they're trying to stifle speech, not just from U.S. senators, but from the public as well. This president doesn't like people that disagrees with him. That's why you could see the difference in who these cabinet members are this time compared to his first term. A bunch of yes people around him that will never disagree with him. So,
Say Trump got a lot of yes men.
Recipe for disaster.
Will you bring this up with the secretary tomorrow at the Venezuela briefing?
Those briefings, whether or not you get to bring something up, depends on how early you get there. So it often depends on my schedule. We'll have 100 senators in the room, and as you might realize, they'll spend a lot of time up front to make sure there isn't a lot of time at the end for questions. So there's generally, 5 or 6 people. So it's going to depend on my schedule. But I will probably, with him, bring up something that is connected to the brief we're having on Venezuela.
When do you expect your response?
What's that?
When do you expect your response?
My response on this, like publicly, public response? I don't know, probably in the next few days.
Is it your impression the secretary has the final call on this, or is it an independent board? I mean, how does this process work?
Well, first of all, if there is a process, I'm pretty confident that this Secretary of Defense, they're not going to follow it, so it doesn't matter. So I really have no idea. That'd be a good question for you to ask him.
Can you take it to court? Can you actually take it to?
Maybe. Sure.
Has the secretary ever spoken to you personally prior to doing all of this? Has there been any?
Well, I mean, at the committee hearing, I, asked him some very pointed questions when his confirmation hearing about his background and his lack of qualification for this job. I spoke to him one other time, I think, in a hearing before, that video came out, and then I just spoke to him the last time we had a hearing in the SCIF, where I was asking him questions about the Venezuelan boat strikes, and then he decided to, bring this up.
Your Republican
He was a little sensitive about the subject.
Your Republican colleagues haven't really publicly backed you on this one vocally.
Some have.
Are you
Tom
disappointed?
Tillis did yesterday.
Are you disappointed that more haven't spoken out?
Absolutely. Because this is not just about me. This is about the freedom of speech of all Americans, including U.S. senators.
Senator Kelly, on kind of a different topic here, it's the anniversary of January 6th.
Yes.
The White House just put out a website blaming in part the Capitol Police for the escalation that happened that resulted in injuries to officers and the damage that happened to the major.
Yeah, Donald Trump should review the tape. He sent a mob to Capitol Hill that beat up a bunch of police officers, assaulted them. Capitol Hill police officer died because of this. He should go back or have somebody who explain to him what actually happened on January 6th, 5 years ago. If he can't remember, he's got people around him that could get him the record.
Do you think you had mentioned in this?
It's an obnoxious thing to say. It's wrong. It's unbecoming of any American, especially the President of the United States.
You said if you have a chance to ask Hegseth the question tomorrow, will be about the Venezuela situation. What specifically do you plan to press them on?
Well, I think this is going to be about the, Maduro, about the, the operation. Manu, as you might imagine, I often ask questions about the operational specifics on these things to find out exactly how.
So I'm pretty sure he's gonna ask him about, is this about all with the Maduro situation and the capturing of the Venezuelan president, guys? I'm just saying. He most definitely said he's gonna ask questions about Maduro.
Something like this was planned and conducted. I come from an operational background as a combat pilot, and it's the stuff I'm also generally interested in. I want to know what kind of resources were used to extract Maduro and his wife, and also what authorities. They talk about how this is a law enforcement operation, but if in fact 150 airplanes were used from multiple services, it feels less to to me, law enforcement and more like a military operation? And then do you have the legal authorization to do this? We're going to have a vote on this week.
Do you have the legal authority to invade Venezuela? So once again, there's a lot of people that are opposing what Trump did, man. I'm just saying, I said this yesterday and they were like, where? Well, you heard a lot of them today. And Senator Kelly's one of them.
I don't, think that we want to be bogged down in Venezuela. That's not in the best interest of the American people. This president should be, not focused on things like, Venezuela, and focused on bringing down the costs for the American people, including my constituents, who are dealing with, high rent.
Hold up real quick, because somebody didn't get the memo that they get deported when they talk trash to me. Where you at? Let's get Jordan, 23, right up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Congratulations, Jordan. You just got deported, sir. Don't ever tell me to shut up. And then on top of that, if I said dude name wrong, you say it right to yourself. Don't ever try to chin check me. We're going to get you right up out of here. Get him on that rocket ship and deport him up out of here the fastest. We'll holler at you, buddy. Goodbye. We don't need you here. Go find you somewhere else to watch this kind of programming.
And grocery prices are much more expensive than they were previously. And at the same time, this president destroyed the health care for millions of Americans. He felt the need to give a big giant tax cut to the wealthiest Americans. And that's partially paid for by taking away these ACA subsidies. And what that means to people that I've spoken to in Yuma and Chandler and Sedona, is I've got constituents, their healthcare costs are going from hundreds of dollars a month to thousands of dollars a month, and they can't afford it. And this president said he was going to help people. He's not helping people. He's just making it worse for the average American.
How does Venezuela impact the Senate's agenda when it comes to healthcare? How is this going to impact the agenda?
Well, this occupies time and effort when we could be focused on other things.
Do you think this tactic that the Department of War is
Thank
using
you, Laleezy, for being a member for the last 15
General
months.
Kane or Driscoll were running the Department of War? Do you think it's exclusive to Hegseth, this tactic?
I think Hegseth is a uniquely unqualified individual. I think if you were looking for a job that maybe he could have done well, it might have been spokesperson. From what I've seen, I would actually start to change my mind about that. He's not qualified to be Secretary of Defense. This guy does not have the background to be this guy. I also don't think he understands. Talks about how he's like member of the military who served. I thank him for his service. He just doesn't get it.
On negotiations on healthcare, do you think that you can overcome the issues with the Hyde Amendment? Do you think that there's a realistic possibility of doing something on a bipartisan basis?
I think it's going to be a challenge. A lot of my Republican colleagues are, dug in on that, but we're going to keep working on it. And if it takes us all the way through,
the last 8 months.
For months or 2026 or beyond, we're going to fix this because it is not fair to the American people that they're losing their health care coverage so a bunch of billionaires can get a tax cut.
What do you think in terms of the war powers resolution this week?
I think we're going to vote on it.
How do you think that vote's going to go?
I just got back. I haven't talked to a lot of folks. I need to.
And then have you
Senator, the censure letter that you were reading from Secretary Hegseth mentions the possibility of court martialing you going forward in the very last draft.
Yeah.
Does that indicate to you that this is not ending anytime soon?
Well, they are trying to, their level of intimidation extends beyond, what has happened. They talk about things I've said between June and December.
Thank you, Nene, for being a member for the last 15
They think
months.
it's inappropriate for me to criticize them for firing admirals and generals. Now remember, I'm on the Armed Services Committee. I voted for those admirals and generals to have those jobs, and Pete Hegseth fired those people, in my view, because of the color of their skin and their gender.
Oh,
That's
wow.
a horrible thing to do, and a horrible message to people out there.
That's discrimination, ain't it? Over the color of their skin? Wow.
That you have to look a certain way to serve this country at the highest level. And I was critical of them in my role as a member of the committee. And they didn't like it. That's one of the reasons they have censured me. And at the end of the letter, they threaten criminal prosecution if they don't like what I say going forward. Let me make it perfectly clear. This letter, or anything that Pete Hegseth says or does to me, is in no way going to affect the way I do my job and represent my constituents in the United States Senate. Ain't happening. So, his option, right now is he can continue with this kind of bullshit, or he can go take a hike.
Oh.
That's his options. And if I have an opportunity to tell him that tomorrow, maybe I will.
Senator, how would you respond to a court-martial proceeding if the Secretary goes that direction?
I would respond appropriately.
You would participate in that?
I would do what the appropriate thing is. I spent 25 years in the Navy. I get this stuff, right? If they want to court-martial me, bring it on. I'm not afraid of Pete Hegseth or the full force of the Department of Defense or the Department of Justice, for that matter, because I said something that was accurate, truthful, in the Uniform Code of Military Justice. They didn't like it. They need to get over themselves. Thank you very much.
He said they didn't like it. They need to get over themselves. So that was Kelly, basically, stating how he feels when it comes to Hegseth, basically trying to demote him and take his retirement, guys. He says that he's willing to fight it in court. Okay, hold on real quick. Let me get this back up here real quick. Hold on. Hold up. Get this back up here. Hold on. Let me get it right. All right, man. Make sure you take time to double tap that screen if you have not. That's how you hit the like button, or you can click those three dots and hit that thumbs up. That's another way to hit the like button, guys. All right, hold on. Let me end the poll. So, out of where are we at? Where is it at? Is it in the chat? Yeah. Okay. So, out of 3.9K votes, I asked y'all, is the situation that went on in Venezuela basically overall? 54% of y'all said yes. 40, I can't even see it. 46% of y'all said no. So according to this chat, and they feel like this whole situation when it comes to Venezuela is overall. So I showed y'all who the new president of Venezuela is. I showed y'all where Trump issued the warnings, basically to other countries, as well as the new acting president of Venezuela, that basically if she didn't go along with what Trump wanted to do, that they could face other strikes, guys. I most definitely brought y'all what Governor Newsom had to say regarding Trump and his actions that he took during the wildfires, as well as deploying the National Guard. I also showed y'all a Venezuelan refugee, basically, who is in the United States now, who says that they agree. Well, a lot of people agree with what Trump did as far as coming to get Maduro, or whatever his name is, basically picking him up and bringing him to justice in the United States. Said there's a lot of people in Venezuela that are happy about him being arrested. I also showed y'all what Chuck Schumer and some of the Democrats, as well as Hakeem Jeffries, how they felt about this situation with Trump basically doing this and not having an after plan, a plan of where do we go next, what are we going to do if this happens, that happens. Basically saying that, hey, they don't know, man. So I fulfilled everything within my title, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. If you're not subscribed to the channel, make sure you subscribe to the channel, man. I most definitely keep y'all up to date and updated with everything that I find going on in the news, basically bringing it to y'all attention. It's your job to go do your own research. I just present the information as it's presented to me. Yeah, and y'all will feel free to go research it on your own, guys. Shout out to my old subscribers as well as all the new subscribers. Shout out to all of my members. Shout out to the old ones as well as the new ones. Shout out to everybody who sent a super chat or a super sticker. We're 2 away from reaching the goal, guys. It doesn't matter if you send in 99 cents. Press that white oval down there and donate something to the channel, guys. I most definitely put in the work, you know, and I appreciate everybody who donated a gift or sent a super chat or a super sticker. Shout out to my moderators for keeping this chat running smooth. I know sometimes it get a lot of people in here. It can get a little outrageous, a little out of line. I appreciate y'all keeping it in line, you know, and making sure that the show runs smooth, guys. So until I catch y'all next time, shout out to that gift there, Dominique. Thank you very much. You know, and if you can't support the channel monetarily, man, just double tap that screen, hit the like button. That's another way to support the channel, guys. If you're on a mobile device, double tap your screen or click those 3 dots and hit that thumbs up, man. I appreciate each and every one of y'all who took time out y'all day to watch my channel. We're most definitely going up, man. We're on the road to 59K. Every subscriber counts. So subscribe. If you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe to Everything News, man. And with that being said, Sidewalk Gang, checking out. I'll catch y'all on the next one. Make sure if you subscribe today, you turn your notification bell on to all so you don't miss anything when Everything News goes live again. Peace, y'all. I'm out.